And good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, regardless of where you are, good something or other. Thank you for joining another live edition of the RoundTable, coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada, WWDBTV studios right here in, we're just down the road from Santa Fe Station, if you know where that is. That'll give you an idea.
Yeah.
We keep our money because we're just too darn close to want to give it away.
Absolutely.
Anyway, to my far right, he is known as the mouth around here, Mr. George Miklos.
The mouth. I like that.
You like it? Well, you started it.
I did.
This way gives us a whole new moniker to mess around.
And it's a potty mouth at times.
And it's
But it's a good thing sometimes. We keep everybody.
It's real crappy
Look
sometimes. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Pardon the pun. Pardon the pun. I know.
I'll tell you, be careful if the tiny ball man is out there. The man sitting in the middle, known as one of the best punt returner, kick returners, receiver ever to wear a Denver Bronco jersey, Mr. Rick Upchurch.
Hey,
James,
how you doing? How you
I
doing?
wanna
How
say
you doing?
that-
Good to see y'all, man. Good to be back.
Touchdown!
I just want to say Rick made the top 300 players in the NFL list. So
I did see-
I always
yeah.
like saying that.
Top 300. What?
Top 300 of
299?
all time.
Huh?
299?
No, 300. I
300,
barely
right.
made it.
Would that be Mr. Irrelevant in that list? Well, you are far
That's
from
like being in
irrelevant.
second place, right?
Yeah. Right. There's a wrestler, Mark Henry, who always says, if you ain't first, you're last.
You're last.
So it don't
That's
matter.
right. I agree with
But
that.
everybody's first around here, especially you all out there tuning in to watch what shenanigans and topics we're going to have fun with today. Lot serious, some all over the place. Of course, later on by the end of the show, it'll be George's favorite segment,
That's right.
America Speaks.
But wait a minute, though.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
But folks, we have the most outstanding Hall of Famer voice that you could ever
That's
have
right.
doing your show. And we have who, George?
Mr. Aaron the Voice Phillips.
Aaron the voice.
Thank you very much. Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
Oh, great.
Well, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Listen, last week I was sicker than a dog. It's funny to say how the voice had no voice. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Listen, we thank everybody for joining us today. It's what, February 9th. Can you believe
Already.
it just seemed like yesterday we were
New
turning
Year's.
the corner on New Year's
Yep.
and everything else. And now here we are, February 1st. In my opinion, one of the greatest months in the calendar for a couple of reasons. Number one, because it's Valentine's Day. Not that we need a day like that to tell somebody we love, but
Just don't remind
it's
Denise
just
about it.
Sorry, Denise, don't listen.
Yeah.
But let's face it, many people believe it's a holiday created by the card industry and everything, right?
Right.
My dad's birthday is this month. My mom, if she was alive, it would have been her birthday this month and all sorts of stuff. But really from a historical perspective, and we'll get into this more throughout the show. We have stuff we'll share. It is Black History Month, where we get to share the importance of really everybody in community, but especially the African-American community that for hundreds of years, I almost said thousands of years, but hundreds of years, really their contributions in life has really gone unnoticed. And I say that because before I went on the air, Rick has a list of inventions that we all use every flipping day of the year.
Yeah, I saw. Did you see that list?
I know. It's like it goes on. It's like one of the Torah scrolls over here.
It goes on and on and
Right,
on.
on and on. But
This
it's
is just
great.
part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, anything we talk about in the next hour, it barely fits on the top of a pinhead of everything we can talk about.
That's right.
Right.
So please understand, folks, that when we talk about the things and we're going to do this as a series over the coming weeks of our show for the month. But it's vast. It's pretty cool, the list that you started with. When we look at, we didn't know who and what for the items, but we'll get to all of that. Of course, we got America Speaks. I know we talked about, check this one out.
Yeah.
A doctor, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He Jin Kwai.
Yes, He Jin Kwai.
Did I say it right?
You did.
And I didn't even
You're
practice.
pretty good.
Damn.
I tried this once or twice. But he got into some hot water about gene editing babies
Gee, what is that?
Well, he went in and messed around with some genes in his mind, using the words from the article, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Trying to create better people is kind of the gist I got.
Absolutely.
Right?
Less disease.
Nicer people.
Nicer people. Changing their attitudes. All of those type of things. And once again, this is still a piece of the AI type of things that are going on in our society.
Yeah.
And that sounds all well and good, but there's always going to be some evil scientist or doctor that's going to get a hold of this and start making baby monsters or whatever bad people. There's always somebody.
Well, just like the island of Dr. Monroe. Remember that show?
Yeah.
That show?
Yeah.
He was on that island, man, and he was genetically, man, trying to do animals and do people and animals and all of that type of stuff and that whole deal. But if you remember, if you look at all of the hieroglyphs there in the pyramids and in Egypt, you look at some of those hieroglyphs and some of the people look like animals. They look like birds. They look like dogs. They look like cats.
What was the animal with the guy who was half man, half horse in mythology?
I forget his name.
Minotaur.
What is it?
A Minotaur.
Minotaur.
A Minotaur.
Not only
Okay.
that, but he's got a great spot in commercials now. But anyway, but sorry, send me a bill, Allstate. But anyway, but I think that's kind of what you're talking. But look, in my opinion, and this is mine only, the things we see being done today, they're not fresh ideas.
No.
Like you just alluded to. This stuff's been done for thousands of years. And like any fashion, for instance, everything gets recycled at some point, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Look at Jurassic Park. When you look at Jurassic Park, what was the number one scientist? What was he trying to do? He said he got a mosquito that had been in some amber.
Okay.
And some sap, right?
Mhm.
And he got caught in there. And what he was able to do, he was able to drill down into that amber and pull the DNA out of the mosquito and genetically build another mosquito.
That's crazy.
Watch Jurassic Park.
I couldn't watch just the first one. I have not watched any others.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like watching Jaws. I watched the first one. I ain't watching it anymore. I never went back in the ocean after that show.
Can you
Absolutely.
imagine
The T-Rex?
T-Rex? Oh my God! Can you
Oh,
imagine them DNA and rebuilding that thing and
Yeah.
humans?
Well, listen, a couple of years ago, and one of the shows I like to watch is Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates. And he did a story that they're trying to clone the woolly mammoth.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Why?
Yeah.
And I say why from the standpoint of what's so special about the woolly mammoth that's the animal from all those millions of years ago that they want to bring
Well, I
back.
think they were pretty docile. I think they just ate veggies, trees, and plants. And
Yeah, but now
they
in
would
today's
eat you.
society, I doubt they would stay docile. They're
Right.
not pets,
Right.
But
Right.
why them? Hi. Yeah.
Well, I think because they feel like maybe genetically it would be easier for them. I'm sure they probably looked at all of the animals that they could think about, and they probably looked at, and scientists said, you know what? Genetically, we can probably do this with them. I'm not sure, but why? Like you said, why would you get the woolly mammoth and that whole deal? Maybe they're trying to hook them up, man, with the elephant and genetically make them better, maybe stronger or whatever. Who knows?
But don't we already have that in the elephant?
Yeah, we
Minus
do.
the tusks.
I think
We
there's
do.
other things we could do with that.
But also, those guys get a lot of money too. They get a lot of research grants and that whole
absolutely.
deal as well.
Sure.
And money talks and everything else walks.
That's right.
And
Well-
everything. You can say it the way it's supposed to be.
No, I'm gonna let you potty mouth. I'm gonna let you
That's
say
right.
it.
You're the mouth.
You're the mouth.
Bullshit walks. Okay,
There you go. By the way, real quickly before we forget, I don't know if she's listening, but is there a special shout out that you'd like to
Oh yeah! Happy birthday to my wife on the 1st. She was turned. I'm not gonna
do?
say
No,
it,
don't say it.
but she looks like she's about 16. No, I'm just joking.
Well, she does.
Well,
Yeah,
that's a
she
little-
does. She really looks
That
well.
puts you in a whole nother category.
But the other day she's I know. But the other day she was walking and stepped off the edge of the sidewalk and fractured her ankle. So she's at home in an air boot. She's down for about 6 weeks, and and she's just bored now in that whole deal. But you know what, baby, you'll be all right. I got your back. Don't even worry about it.
There you go.
We've
So
been there and done that. I know how that feels, and Denise knows how that feels. So,
Yeah.
Denise, we want you to get better.
Donna,
we want you to
yeah,
get Donna, we
absolutely.
want you to get better.
my wife has fallen up the steps and has gotten hurt.
Up the steps.
How do you do that?
That's pretty good. Gravity in reverse, huh?
Let me tell you, my wife, yes, so many things I can respond to that with. We're married 34 years on our honeymoon. We're walking the beaches of St. Lucia, and all of a sudden, as we're walking, she hears this little pop in her foot. Her bunions in her toe burst.
Oh,
So we come back, and right away, we got to go to the podiatrist. This is how I started. Now she's fallen upstairs, rolled her ankles on a wonderful curb. She's done this. So I get it.
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I need some of those CBD things sometimes.
I know.
what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just you may happen to mention it. I have a brand new box of all kinds of goodies.
Excellent.
Oh my
Excellent.
God.
In the
Look
car,
at you,
actually.
man.
Yeah.
So one of the things everybody will notice is that we took the oh, hey Patrick, thank you.
You see the logos? Isn't that cool?
Yeah, we put up the logos, of course, really the kind of over each of us. Over my
Right.
head, Planet Harvest Health.
I like
The
it.
secret, which we're still trying to figure out what the secret is. He won't tell us.
Yes,
That's
I
Rick's
did.
stuff. And then True IQ there over George. We're going to keep that stuff on the screens just to make things more visible and easier, because our producer thought that the products on the desk just didn't come across well,
Right.
and he's got
You
pictures.
couldn't see them.
No, so our producer has got slides and pictures of stuff and make it easy for everybody to see. Anyway, okay. So believe it or not, our first segment's just about over.
That's
Is
What?
it? It's nuts. It's crazy, isn't it? How time flies.
Well, when we're running our mouths, guys, time just flies.
Well, speaking of running our mouths,
Yes, sir.
the mouth.
you this past weekend you were at
Yeah.
our Pro Bowl.
I watched.
What
I
was that
looking
like?
for you. I was looking
Yeah,
for
the
you.
Pro Bowl was great, but before that, we met with all of the families. We did a couple of camps this weekend. We
Right.
did the All
Oh,
American
that's right.
camp
Yes.
at Meadows School, and then
Mhm.
we did another one there at Cimarron, and we had a great, wonderful turnout. That's what we do with the NFL alumni chapter here in Las Vegas. We go around working with our young people in that
Mhm.
deal. We had a great crowd. Parents came out. I had so much fun. The kids are just great. The athletics, man, that these kids are athletic out there,
Mhm.
ripping and running that deal. And then went to the Pro Bowl, and I'm like, man, this is going to be okay. It's going to be all right? And I get there, man, and I slept through half of the doggone Pro Bowl.
Now-
That's how boring it was to me.
Now
It
the
really
stadium
was.
looked packed, though, didn't it? The stadium looked
Yeah,
packed.
the
on
stadium
TV.
was packed. Yes, it
You know
was
what I
packed.
didn't like is that they played three separate flag football. Just pick the one long game, 4 quarters, one long flag football game instead of three separate ones.
Well, you know who advised Roger Goodell to do this, right? You guys know, right?
The Players Association.
No.
Who?
Russell Westbrook. Not Russell Westbrook.
Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
And
Yeah.
why was that? I didn't know that.
He
Yeah.
suggested
He suggested to Roger Goodell to do the
And
flag
maybe-
football.
and maybe
Why?
that's
What
why-
was his-
maybe
He
that's
said
why
that
Sean
was-
Payton got rid of all his boys in the locker room. Oh,
he
my
said,
God.
he said, hey guys, this is the easiest way, man, to keep the guys from getting hurt,
Mhm.
right? To protect your investment, right? And now the guys won't go around knocking each other out on the ground and that whole deal. So there's safety in it. That's the number one thing we was talking about, safety.
So let me ask you this question though: is it really then? Is it worth having a Pro Bowl-esque weekend like this? Because to me, it was the game, the real football game. It was an all-star game. It was intended to be a trip at the end of the season. I think the Pro Bowl started going down when they took it away after the Pro Bowl,
Right.
because even the Super Bowl
Yeah, it was
players
supposed to be
deserved a right. It was like a getaway. It was like, hey, go to Hawaii for a
That's
week,
right.
right. You know what I enjoyed about it was when you would see your favorite team and all the helmets on the field. When the AFC
Right.
would come out, you'd see maybe 3 Raiders or 2
Right.
Broncos or 4, on the NFC 4
I was
Giants.
on the
I
s-
always count. I always was excited to see
Right.
my team's
Sure.
helmets on the
2009, I was
Maybe wear
there.
those. Do the flag football and wear the helmets.
I
Or
agree.
baseball caps at least.
I agree, but once again, the owners are about protecting their investments.
Sure.
It's plain and
And
simple.
I-
Remember back in the day when we were playing in the Pro Bowl, we weren't making this type of money, and we weren't that type of investment.
Right.
So we could go out and make that little extra money. But let me tell you something, when it came fourth quarter, guys were getting knocked around and beat
Right.
up and that type of stuff. And some guys did get hurt.
Sure.
Well, they
some
did
guys,
have a money incentive for this Pro Bowl. The winners and losers
yeah.
got.
But it
Yeah,
was less
but
physical
it's
to
less.
get that
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Right.
Wasn't it
was-
who I believe it was Dave Meggett years
Oh,
ago when
yeah.
he went he was playing volleyball or something, and he hurt himself playing a pickup game.
Absolutely.
So I get the protection of injury, and obviously it's a money grab at some point when it has to devolve to this
Mhm.
for the owners, right?
And not only that, they already had the advertisers already.
Right.
So those advertisers are saying, hey man, you got to do this doggone game, but otherwise we're going to pull our money and we won't ever do it again.
I remember Elway. I think it was Elway had something in his contract. He couldn't ski. He couldn't snow ski for Just
Well,
in
that's
case.
in all of our
Oh,
contracts.
is it? Everybody's got.
Yeah, that's in all of our
You can't
contracts.
do anything
I couldn't get on a
dangerous?
dirt bike. They got after me for riding a dirt bike.
Well, remember Ben Roethlisberger when he had
Yeah.
his motorcycle accident?
Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to be on
Could've
a
killed
cycle. That was written in his
Wow.
agreement. So I get protection, but I have to say the one facet about the games that I kind of liked today, or that I saw over the weekend, Peyton Manning did it right in that he kept the Raider David Carr kept him to the last game with Jacobs and everybody
He did
else.
the right thing.
Did
And
the right
Carr
thing.
did good,
Sure.
considering.
Right, considering, but I mean, he did it. That had to have been awkward. You're
Sure.
there representing, you had Raiders on your shirt.
Right.
You know you're on your way out. The crowd, at least it gave them an opportunity to recognize him to whatever degree they wanted to. And I just thought Peyton was smart about doing that.
He was, and I mean that was really innovative. It really was.
Absolutely.
And once again, I think for David Carr, that was a good thing for him as well. To be
Absolutely.
able to say bye to his fans and
Yep.
and that whole deal, because he's leaving and he's going somewhere else and that whole deal. But
Right.
I think once again for him to go out there and say, "Hey, gang, you know what? Thank you so very much for what you've done." And Peyton, the class act that he is, he came up with that and made it really good.
Right. All right. With that, we're running a minute or two behind. I don't want to get our sponsors mad. This show is brought to you by Planet Harvest Health. You can check out their products, planetharvesthealth.com. And of course, as you see the other logos, True IQ, and The Secret is there as well. For the boys. Boy, we're going to get into it next with some great quizzes about Black History Month and inventions. We'll be right back.
Anxiety, depression, PTSD, ADHD, pain, inflammation, dealing with mental or physical health issues, or know someone who is? Relax, refresh, recover, revive. Natural health alternatives using hemp-derived CBD and other cannabinoids found in hemp are increasingly becoming more effective in managing various symptoms that affect your body, state of mind, and daily life. Planet Harvest Health's mission is to help those looking for natural, new, and better solutions for a healthier way of life, specializing in small batch, handcrafted alternatives, providing higher quality and a cost-effective product. Go to planetharvesthealth.com for more information and education on how we can help you.
Hey, everybody. I am Aaron Phillips. You are.
I'm Governor Val Brown Klingelhofer.
And we host what kind of show?
We host the most fabulous show on this network you've ever seen. It's all about Kiwanis and what's going on in our different cities.
And Kiwanis Connects is the title, and you can watch us every Friday morning, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time, right on Facebook or WWDBTV. Say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Aloha.
All right. Maybe we need somebody to invent a new clock in the studio. Anyway, welcome back to the Roundtable. Aaron Phillips, Rick Upchurch, the man simply known as the Mouth, George Miklos. Thank you for tuning in. By the way, if you do have to leave the visual, you got to go out and pick up dinner or the kids or whatever, make sure you download WWDBTV to your phones, your Android products.
Yeah.
And if you have the Apple products, WWDBTV LV must be added to that one. Download the apps because, listen, when there's not a show live, you get some of the best music. You get some of the old-time TV shows. Radio shows. Sorry, TV, radio, same shit.
What, is UConn a radio?
Huh?
I thought we're not TV.
I don't know what we are anymore. It's a hybrid. Anyway, I was told I have a face for radio. Why am I seeing myself in the camera? Anyway, so download it, take us on the go, listen to all of the great music, the shows, and catch any of the other shows that are called WWDB-TV Home. We've got some new shows coming up down the horizon. We got some great planted shows. Anyway, gentlemen, doggone it, let's get started. I want to get into that list. So however you want to handle it,
That's a
maybe a
hell of
little
a list.
competition, a little contest with people. But let's see. We're celebrating Black History Month each of the weeks in February while we're on the air. So you came up with a great idea. Talk about what you brought up as an idea to go start with.
Well, what I did was, everyday things that we use, people don't know who invented them. No one knows where it even started.
Yeah.
I mean, they look around and they say, well, who did it? Right?
Who invented
Well,
this?
yeah, who invented this phone? No, nobody knows.
Right.
And so a lot of folks, once again, Black history wasn't really taught to me because I went to, primarily a all-white high school in that whole deal. So I didn't get this type of teaching in that whole deal. I know who George Washington is. I know who Abraham Lincoln is. I know who Thomas Jefferson. I know who all these guys are in that whole deal. But then when you look around, you say to yourself, well, who invented and made these things and that whole deal and gave everybody else the idea to what? To make it better. Okay. And so when I got to looking around and found some Black history and about inventions in that whole deal and what Black folks have made in that whole deal. And when I looked at it, when you go outside and you call your air conditioning guy and he goes out to that air conditioning, that whole deal, that air conditioning unit was made by Frederick M. Jones, an African-American man.
Not Carrier like our producer.
No, not Carrier. And that was done in 1949.
1949.
1949.
That's relatively recent.
Well, like you mentioned,
I'm older than air conditioning.
You're older than dirt.
now I have read articles. Again, there might be some controversy where they did say that Carrier was the inventor. So I don't know where the misconception is, or where the difference is, or where the history books are at. Where they
what I'm saying is what I just said is that once again, when they invented it, they invented the unit. People might have made it better.
Okay, so maybe this is the initial invention, and then maybe somebody else made it better.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Just like Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry is the original rock and roller.
Yeah.
Right? Who made it better? Elvis Presley.
Right.
Okay. That's a great way
to position it.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
That's cool.
And then when you talk about the ice cream scooper.
Oh,
have you ever had an ice cream scooper?
I have plenty of them.
Oh man, that's some good stuff, man. Ice cream scooper, the Alfred I. Crayon.
Now I wonder what the moment was when Alfred invented it, because we had spoons. I'm assuming before.
When did he invent it?
He invented that in 1897.
Jesus. So what were they scooping ice cream out with before that?
I didn't even know they had ice cream.
Their hands.
No,
I didn't even know.
I mean,
their hands, man. You can scoop with your hands, man. Maybe a piece of bark off the tree.
I didn't even know they had ice cream in 1897.
Yeah, you know what? They could make it. You know why? What they would do is get milk. They would get some ice, and then they could get ice in that whole deal, and they would put it in this thing.
They had an ice box theoretically,
and did they have ice boxes back then? Well, they had to have.
Yeah,
I would think ice boxes would have just started coming in.
Right, just coming into it to existence.
Well, but so yeah, it's curious. So listen, ideas come if you watch Back to the Future. Right, Doc Brown hit his head on the toilet to come up with the flux capacitor.
Right. Yeah.
I'd love to. It's a great light point to this. When did this guy realize I need to scoop my ice cream better than using my hands or a spoon or a piece of tree?
Right. Absolutely.
Oh man,
that's just thinking about that. Here's another one. What about a biscuit cutter?
Is that what the little round?
Yeah, that's a little round thing. You go and you
when you have the dough laid out.
Yeah, and you just take the
mold.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Alexander P. Ashburn. And he invented that in 1875.
That came out before the ice cream scooper.
Right. That's right.
Well, maybe he tried using the biscuit scooper and it wasn't holding enough when he was scooping the ice cream.
Oh, wait a minute. Here's another one. The thing that we get on all the time to get us up and down, the elevator, right? The elevator, Alexander Miles. He invented that in 1867. So, folks, you got to realize and understand that in the African-American community, and with our legacy and history, a lot of the things that you use were invented by men of color, period. And that's why African-American history.
2 years after the Civil War.
Yeah, 2 years after the Civil War.
After the Civil War.
Yeah, and that's why I don't understand why some folks here in America don't want to teach African-American studies in their schools, in their school system. Because if you don't include African-American studies, you're leaving out a big part of America.
Right.
And how America was developed, built, and way we continue to develop and build it.
Yeah, I don't remember being educated on this when I was a kid or in high school or grade school either.
I mean, you got
certain historical figures maybe that.
But the things we learned back then when we were in school was not this. It was about slavery. It was about
It was never,
Lincoln ending slavery and all that. That's what we learned.
Right, Martin Luther King.
That's right.
Martin Luther King and all that.
That's right. And then you talk about what? The golf tee, okay?
The
golf tee. Yeah. Some people play golf.
You mean someone
Come on, man.
That's crazy. They invented the golf tee, but they were banned from playing in the golf clubs.
Wasn't the game of golf though invented in Scotland or something?
It was.
Okay, so was that tee invented there?
No, I'm not. It was
Were
invented
you
here.
there when they invented it? That's what I
No,
meant.
I wasn't there.
So and again,
But-
it's interesting because how'd they hit the ball off of what were they hitting the ball
Well,
off?
you can
Just
hit
the
it off the ground.
Like
Yeah.
a football
Yeah.
kicker, you know. With the,
Well, but when you play golf and the golf is in the fairway, you're not using a tee,
Yeah.
see if
That's right.
right? I mean,
but I just would like to know the circumstances.
Sure.
Inventing the
well, look
the
it up.
tee,
You got the computer in front of you,
you know
there.
where with the for the ball. If blacks never played the golf a lot,
How
but
did
what
they-
was the
well, back then
You
they
know,
probably did.
let me
situation.
but let me tell
probably
let me tell you how that works. Understand that most of the blacks were able to go and caddy. And so they were the ones going around and they were chasing the
Oh,
balls and
right,
watching
right, holding the
watching the
bags.
guy throwing the bags and that deal. And he probably sat back and said, you know what? What about if I can lift that ball off the ground a little bit?
Right.
And my guy can hit it farther and can hit it longer.
Less drag on
Less
the club.
drag on the
coming through
club.
grass.
1899.
Yeah, 1899 for this stuff. So, yeah,
Turn of the century
turn
stuff.
of the century stuff.
Oh, shit.
And then you talk about the lemon squeezer. You talk about locks. You talking about
Wait a
gas
minute, what
masks.
kind of locks?
I'm
Fish
talking not,
locks or
No,
or-
the
no,
lock.
the
Oh, okay.
locks on your home.
As soon as he said that, I knew it wasn't what
Not-
you were thinking.
Sorry.
Anyway, you messing
When
up.
the boats go through.
You're messing up my route.
Sorry.
Eye protectors. Electric light.
What's an eye protector?
Yeah, what kind of eye protect? Like shields?
The shields around your eyes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was done by Powell Johnson
What, for like welding or
for
something?
welding and those type of
Okay,
things.
okay.
Yes, And then you're talking about the hairbrush. Her name was Linda Newman,
Well, now that-
1898.
Now that's interesting, really, because black and white folks have different types of hair,
right.
and it's interesting that a black invented the hairbrush.
But over time, they added on to it and said, "Hey, we have to make this for a certain type of
Universal.
hair."
See, and I thought you were going to say something different. It's funny that all the products you've mentioned so far have all been invented by men until the first fashion product, basically,
Yes, sir.
that came out was invented by a woman.
I didn't even think.
That's
about
why I thought
that.
you were going with
Yeah.
it, but that's what just struck out at
Right.
me. Because I can't
Absolutely.
relate to combs and hairs anymore, so I
Well,
forget.
And we know about peanut butter, right? You know who the
Mr. Peanut, Jif, Mr. Jif, wasn't
Oh,
it?
you know, right? You know who, right?
I actually
What?
I'm
You
sorry.
don't know your African American history?
No.
Well, I'm teaching today.
George
You're
Washington.
the student today.
Preach, brother,
You're the-
preach to me.
George Washington Carver.
George Washington Carver.
He, even the old guy back there
Yeah, I
knew
knew
that.
that.
George Washington Carver.
I just don't know. I knew they invented it, but how? What was the situation that made him decide that made peanut butter?
Well-
And it's great to know who did it, but why and what was the situation?
Well, they weren't able to get protein because they weren't able to eat the meat, man, that was getting slaughtered. Remember, they were getting the heads of the hog. They were getting the
They weren't getting the
guts
meat.
of
Right.
the coin
Yeah.
of the hog and that whole deal. And George Washington Carver said, I have to be able to feed my family good stuff that's going to make them healthy,
Mhm.
right? And so he was a peanut farmer.
Okay.
And so through that, he was able to develop
The
a lot of
process,
things,
the
the
process
process
to make it.
of making it. And all he did was took it, ground it up in that whole deal, added a little water to it, and it became peanut butter.
Okay. Makes sense. What
Yeah.
else?
I
I
love peanut butter.
Yeah, and peanut
it's
butter
good
is
stuff.
about protein. It's,
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
good protein thing.
every scoop
Oh,
in
I'll
my
eat-
shake.
I'll
every-
eat it just out of the spoon, just to the jar.
Yeah, what about the mailbox? I mean, who'd have thought about it, man? Put a mailbox out there where the guy can just come by and just put it in there and see you when I see you.
Okay.
You know?
Who was that?
Again, where that's cool, but what was the deciding factor?
See, but I
Why
can
need
see
a
where
box
that.
to
But
put
see,
the
but I
mail
can
in?
see where that would come from because you have your house,
Right.
right? The mail person probably was getting tired of going to and from, right? Or the person was tired of getting their mail strewn all over the place,
right on the lawn,
or the
something.
dogs coming to chase the
Right,
mailman, right?
right.
So you know what? What if we just put a little box out here or something? Oh, it didn't even have to be like on a
Yeah.
post, but that I could see
Right,
at a necessity.
right.
But then who made the flag on the mailbox
It
to
was,
let them
prob-
know that there was mail in there?
it was probably somebody advanced it and said,
Right,
"Hey,
exactly.
The next
exactly.
step,
the
the
next-
next step.
But these are just the inventors.
Yeah, right. The initial
The
concept.
initial concept
Right.
in that whole deal. What about an insect destroyer gun? Albert C. Richardson in 1899.
I have one of those guns you see on TV where you put the salt in it and kill the flies. But what was an insect killer? Just like in the South, hitting on the porch and all these flies coming.
It's called the
around?
zapper now.
Right.
The bug zapper.
You know what? I don't know. I'm
I don't
just
know. Yeah,
reading
no,
these
I think
off.
it's great. No,
I
I'm
don't
just
know,
saying-
and I'm sitting here saying, what was he thinking about? It's
But he
just
invented it.
well.
Yeah,
Let
that's
me
cool.
let me
Just
say
find
this.
out.
How did they invent a toothpick? It was somebody, a farmer, sitting on the doggone, sitting on the porch, right? He
Right,
just
and-
had dinner.
It means
Right?
stuck in his tooth.
Well before
Yeah,
dental
meats-
floss.
Yeah, well before dental floss,
Mhm.
and he takes a piece of a
Twig
stem
or
and twig or
something.
whatever, and he
Yeah.
started drinking his tea. And someone probably came out and said, "Man,
That's
that's a
idea.
great idea, man. Let's go ahead, man, and get a bunch of wood and let's sharpen the end of it and see how that works."
And here
Right?
we are.
And here we are today.
100 years later.
100 years later, we got a toothpick. What about the guitar? Are you guys, do you play the guitar?
I do not.
You don't play the guitar?
I do have 2 guitars. I don't play
All
very
right.
well,
Right. Okay.
but that would make sense.
Yeah.
Technically, when
Yeah.
was the guitar?
That was
invented?
1886. Robert F. Fleming Jr.
Hmm.
was the guy that invented it. And he invented it because of spiritual music.
Right.
You know, they put together bands, they had church, and they said, man, we got to have some music. And they developed the guitar.
I could buy that.
Along with the
I could see
piano?
that. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, okay. Oh, I mean, there's so many. The folding bed, fire extinguishers. I'm telling you.
Again, the fire extinguisher.
Mhm.
Whoever the guy who invented it, what's the name?
His name was Thomas Mitchell in
No.
1872.
So what was Thomas Mitchell doing at that moment? What made him decide? I love all this stuff. I'm great to find out who invented it, but what was the reason? A fire extinguisher.
Right.
Did he live in somewhere
Well,
when they trying
Think
to
about
throw-
how they
had a
put
fire
out
through
fires.
dirt?
Think about how they put out fires
Dirt,
back. And they
water.
didn't have pumpers. They
They
had
had
the bucket
lines.
brigade.
Right.
So somebody probably looked at that and said, "There's got to be a more
Better way,
efficient way
right.
to get water to put out a fire."
Absolutely.
And this person saw something about pressure.
Maybe he was a fire.
Yeah, he could have been
for
one
the
of those
fire
people
department.
on the
Yeah.
line. Yeah, absolutely.
What about an egg beater? Willie Johnson in 1884. What was he thinking about?
That's
Making a nice omelet or something of that nature back
Because a
then?
fork would just be
Yeah.
as good as an egg beater, but
Right.
we have egg beater too. So I get it.
yeah. That's.
I mean,
But the egg beater is used for more than
Yeah.
just eggs.
yes.
a lot of baking folks
Yeah.
use it for
Right.
stirring and mixing.
I mean, you can go on. This thermostat control, Frederick M. Jones, 1960. Traffic light, Garrett Morgan, 1923. The tricycle, Matthew A. Cherry, 1886.
Now-
So people got to realize and understand that the inventions, the start of these things that we use every day,
Right.
was done by African American people, black
Right.
inventors.
Right.
And then they obviously, like you said, it's the initial concept. But of everything that you listed there, I took note the last 3 were all in the 1900s.
Mhm.
And you had one earlier that was like 1946, I believe.
Yes.
Those 4 are the only ones in the 1900s. Everything else was
19th century.
18s,
Yeah.
right? The 19th century.
Now
That's
the
right.
traffic light, that would be interesting to find out. Was he in a horse and buggy and somebody tried to cut him off? Hey, I don't.
Or the cop doing traffic control in the corner, in the middle with all 4
Right.
lanes coming at him. So,
Right.
I mean, that's a great list.
Well, the thing about it, here's the only thing I'm saying is that, once again, people haven't gotten all of the history
Right.
of America.
Mhm.
And that's why Black History Month was invented. It was to tell the
world.
part that's been
Right.
left out,
Mhm.
that's giving us less information about who America really is.
I want to ask this question, and there's no facetious nature in my question in
Sure.
asking this.
Sure.
So, throughout all of Black history, in your mind,
Mhm.
as someone who's lived it, because
Yes.
obviously he and I can't put our feet in your shoes, having lived that.
Sure.
Give me in your mind the top 5 to 10 who you feel are the most influential Black Americans that this country has ever had the pleasure of having their feet walk on, in your mind, as someone who's been obviously comes from that heritage. I know I'm putting you on the spot, so
Well, that's all right.
and maybe outside the normal ones like MLK and whatnot. But who comes to mind?
Frederick Douglass is the first one that I think about
Yeah.
because he was standing up against slavery.
Okay,
And once again, he wanted to see his people free.
sure.
And for him to start, letting people know that, hey, you're a free people
Mhm.
and you're smart, you're intelligent. You're able to do things in that whole deal. I think that gave everyone, man, some encouragement about who they are and what they look like in that whole deal. Because remember, black was always demonized in our society in that whole deal. And a lot of folks use the Bible in that sense as well. As well. So when black people would look at themselves, they say, I'm less than.
Gotcha.
Right? Okay. And so with him. And then the other one for me was Malcolm X, because Malcolm X had the opportunity to go over to Egypt. He went over to Mecca. And when he went over there as a Muslim, right, he went over there and all he was taught here in America is that black was the thing, black people, and white people were the devil. But when he went to Mecca and saw that Islam was about all colors, all hues, didn't discriminate against anything, he came back to America and says, I am no longer a black Muslim. I am just a Muslim because I saw with my own eyes that everybody's accepted.
Right.
And again, that goes back to something we were talking about before we went on the air, the label of black, whatever, white, whatever, Chinese, whatever,
The first
Jewish,
black,
this,
first this, yeah.
just hopefully someday when we're talking about this, we can get rid of that because we are all equal.
Right.
You know, the old saying, we all bleed red. So why is that any different what the outside is all about? Now, we all have different cultures and backgrounds that got us to today. I get that.
Right.
But it shouldn't be that way. Just that label of black this, black that, white this, Chinese this, Jewish. I'm sorry, but we should be in a society where that is not needed anymore.
Maybe
Absolutely
100 years from now, maybe
I agree.
200 years from now, I just don't see that happening in our lifetime. I mean, it's just going to continue.
And then the next, and then
Your son. I'm sorry. He says, you better add yourself in there, even if it's number 10A.
I know that's right.
Yeah.
And then
That's your son out there in Jersey.
And then the other one is my father-in-law.
Okay.
My father-in-law was a Buffalo soldier in our military in that
Wow.
whole deal, right? He went to war. He went over to Italy over there, and he got injured. He got bayoneted and the whole deal. He came out as a high-end sergeant. He was one of the top guys. He was the guy that would calculate in that whole deal where the cannons would go off and would drop it right down on your head. He was that guy.
Wow.
And when he came back home, he sat with me one day, and he says, Rick, I just want to tell you my story. I says, yes, Dad, let's sit down and talk, okay? He would sit there, man, and tears would come down his eyes because being over there and fighting, man, fighting the front line and protecting America and that whole deal, he thought that that's what it was all about, right? They'll treat me right when I come back home. When he came back home, everybody else got off the ship. All the white soldiers got off of the ship, right? During the day. Black soldiers had to stay on at night until nighttime so that the folks didn't see the black soldiers getting off of the doggone ship. And then when he would go back home and get on the bus, they made everybody get off the bus so that he didn't touch them, and made them get off when he got off the bus so that he didn't touch them. Jeez. So those are the stories in the household that let you understand why we are fighting for equality. We love America.
Yeah.
America gave us an opportunity and a chance. But do America love us back?
Right.
That's the question.
Yep.
Now, I think, again, it's way better now than it ever has been. Don't you think? I know there's pockets of society and there's certain events or situations that happen that remind us sometimes, regrettably, that we're not there yet. But I mean, like we talked earlier, I don't know if it's ever going to be completely, the eliminating the actual racial part of it. Oh, the first black this, the first white guy, the first this, that. Then it's good to recognize. There's no doubt.
Right.
The list here is a perfect example of all that stuff.
And then the next one is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. I remember sitting and listening to him in his speeches and that whole deal. And the number one thing that I heard him say is that everybody is important. Everybody is equal. But when you ask a bootless man to pull himself up by his bootstraps, how do you do that?
Right.
When you don't have anything, you weren't given land when you came out of slavery, but you had the European immigrants who came here to America and they were given land so that they could come and live here. Most of the immigrants from Europe did not come in the bowels of a ship. They came on the top of a ship, right? Yep. Those are facts. So that's why, man, when we sit back and look and we say, does America love us like we love America? Because remember, America was built on the backs of slaves.
Mhm.
America wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for that.
Right. Well, and again, we use the term racist, or the definition is a particular race feeling superior to another.
Right.
It didn't say
Right.
anything about whites feeling better than blacks or Asians feeling better than Mexicans. It just says a race that feels superior to another
Right.
is considered a racist. We treated the Irish horribly.
Mhm.
Potato farmers, you fucking potato girl, and they came across on the ship too.
Mhm.
Irish were hammered.
Right.
You know.
You
and
know
again,
why? Do you know why? Understand, the Moors went all up through Ireland. The Moors of Africa defeated Spain, defeated France, defeated England, went up into Scotland, defeated Italy, all of that. These folks have black blood in their system. Yeah,
Well, France never.
That's why.
They never won a war ever. So
that's why. And people need to know their history.
Absolutely.
If you know your history, then you understand why certain ethnic groups
Right.
were treated that way.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to step aside for a moment, take a quick
Again?
break. Well, listen, when we run our mouths, that's what happened. The time goes by.
I love it.
And
the
when you get
conversation's really, really.
well,
good,
I was just
so.
going to
I
say,
love it.
when you get soaked into a conversation, then you don't even worry about time. You just get engrossed in it. But unfortunately, we do have bills to pay.
We do.
And now we have a photographer in studio that we must look good for. But anyway,
I forgot my wallet for the bills.
that's right. All right, when we come back, we're going to get to America Speaks, because I know George has been chomping at the bit with a few topics for us to respond
Chomp, chomp, chomp.
to your comments about certain topics. And then who knows from there, we'll figure it out after that. You're watching The Roundtable with the best punt returner, kick returner, wide receiver in the NFL as far as we're concerned, and me. We'll be right back.
All right.
Surrounded by the voice and the mouth.
Hi, I'm Judy Morio. I invite you to watch my show, What's Your Story with Judy Morio on WWDBTV, where I interview celebrities, doctors, authors, professional speakers, and just plain folks like you and me. So watch my show and also watch some of the other great shows that we have here on WWDBTV. And you can also find us on Roku.
WDBTV, your channel for original content, interviews, music videos, sports, and infotainment. Broadcasting worldwide from Las Vegas, Nevada. Search for us on Roku. That's WWDBTV. Thank you for your support.
I'm Miss Murder, and I have a question for you. Have you ever explored the beauty in horror? I'm Mercedes M. Yardley, known as Miss Murder. I'm a dark fantasist who wears poisonous flowers in my hair. Among my many titles, I'm the author of the Stabby award-winning book titled Apocalyptic Montessa and Nuclear Lulu, A Tale of Atomic Love, as well as winning the prestigious Bram Stoker Award for my novella, Little Dead Red. My short story, Loving You Darkly, also received a Bram Stoker nomination. Check out all of my titles at www.mercedesmyardley.com, where I remind you that all things are dark, darling.
Hey, welcome back to the Roundtable. You know who we are, so we don't have to repeat that. As we are sitting here, before we get to America Speaks, Rick was talking about a book he has here on the over here. Yep. Over here now? We're over here? Where am I going? Which camera am I going to? Don't fuck with
right over there.
Don't fuck with my camera.
We're over there.
Anyway, we're straight ahead. Anyway, talk about the book you have here.
A great book here. It has tons and tons of pictures. It gives everybody historical pictures and that, and it's called Our America, and it's done by Ken Burns. Ken Burns, great photographer, great narrator. He tells the story and he tells the truth about everything in that whole deal, for sure. He really does. He's really truthful, and his stuff is clean in that whole deal. But I suggest that everyone who wants to learn about African American studies or our country in that sense, to go out and get this book right here. You can get it from Amazon, and it'll do you a lot of good. And also, folks, sit down with your children and teach them the history. Don't be afraid to teach them, because the only thing we do is, when we don't teach our children, is leave them ignorant.
And that's a perfect book to have sitting in the house on the coffee table or the kitchen table, so you can pick it up when you got a few minutes and just flip through it and learn something.
Absolutely.
About
and
America,
all it is, I
about
thumbed through a couple of pages during the break, and it is just pictures with a little caption underneath where
That's cool.
and the year that it was, and just a few pictures. I looked at the emotion you can see in the pictures.
Right.
Is
capture
outstanding.
their feeling or their emotion, their whatever they were going through at the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And like Rick said, Ken Burns, he's done a lot of the baseball documentaries. If you have the MLB network, you'll see different documentaries about baseball, different eras and things like that he's done. All right. With that, George, you know what time it is.
Oh, God.
America Speaks. I like it better when John does it.
Well, there you go. He's got it. Here we go. America Speaks. Is that you?
I have it on my brain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hi there. Welcome back. George, take it away.
America Speaks, baby. We're here and we're going to discuss, since we're talking about Black History Month.
Well,
The
let's talk about
NFL.
what the basis of America Speaks segment is. Not that we're
Okay.
going to talk about it.
Right. It is the NFL this weekend, so I came up with some topics considering this weekend and ties in with Black History Month. What I'm going to do the last segment of each show is I'm going to pull up some topics from the news. And again, you see they have a comment section. And America puts their comment. They write their comments in there. So the goal for me is to share these particular subjects and the comments that go along with it. Again, some of these comics, they're from America. They're from you. They're not from me, Rick, or Aaron. Now, we might discuss some comments that I read off, and we might choose one or two and discuss the comment of the comment.
Mhm.
Right? Okay. Well, since it's NFL weekend, the Super Bowl, Roger Goodell had a briefing this week down there in Arizona concerning certain topics in the NFL, woke topics, hiring females in the NFL, and other stuff like that. Now, in particular, Roger Goodell was asked about hiring black head coaches, black coordinators, black general managers, and even black senior managers. And he took about 20 questions from reporters about this particular subject. He said there's more work ahead of us, which is true. That he said, I think there's progress and we're pleased to see progress, but it's never enough. Now, why did this take so long? Because this is the first Super Bowl that features two starting quarterbacks. NFL's been around 100 years. Why did it take so long? Again, I don't have that answer. I don't know if any of us do, but he was asked why it took the NFL 57 years since to arrive at this moment where both starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. He said there's probably a variety of reasons. Probably none of them were good. I think we have 11 black starting quarterbacks today. We have 11. 2 are in the Super Bowl. Now, we are going to go down and we're going to discuss some of these comments about what America thinks and America speaks about this particular subject. So we're going down here. First one, Cold Warrior 214. Unfortunately, the NFL has ceased to be about competition. It has become the NBA, all show and no substance. Actually, more like pro wrestling.
Whoa!
It's just,
man.
Hey, go to hell!
below the waist or
Right.
what, dude?
It's just a show to enrich players
Drop
and
the
owners with
elbow on
no
me.
real regard for the game itself. Now, here's another one. The NFL is woke. This is from Just a Minute. Therefore, anything they have to say is meaningless. The NFL is composed of millionaire gladiators. Professional sports is of no interest to me. Okay, now here's another one. Bunny Macaroon. Goodell knows his market. Gladly, I'm not in any of his target demographics. I don't know what he meant by that. But
Well, anyway,
here's
what was that handle? Bunny what?
Bunny Macaroon.
How do you take anybody serious with that kind of
Right.
handle? Anyway, I digress. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Here's another one. Arn WKR. I stopped watching the NFL when the African millionaires had to kneel for the national anthem. Okay, that's one where we can stop and actually discuss, since this has been in the last 5 or 6 seasons when Kaepernick knelt down. So what do you think about that comment? Hey, I'm sure there's millions of folks that feel the same way.
What was it again? What was his
About
comment?
he said he stopped watching the NFL after African American millionaires, gladiators, started kneeling.
and not honoring the
Yeah, I wish I could stop watching the NFL over this, but I did that after the kneeling.
Well, once again, everybody has the right, with their feelings in that whole deal. And I think if that's bugs you and it's not what you think is right, then you don't watch it. You don't ingrain yourself in that whole deal. But there was a purpose for it in that whole deal, and some people didn't listen to what the purpose was, and so therefore they're going to talk about multimillionaires and things of that nature being out there in that whole deal. They go out there and they earn their money. I would like to see that person go out there and play that game, and they will say the same thing. I've earned this money.
Right.
I've played my butt off from high school to college and now to the pros. I was able to make it. So once again, regardless of whether they're multimillionaires, also, gang, they go out and they entertain. They entertain people every weekend. And people see everybody on the weekend, on the game day, but they don't see the process during the week.
Well, let's remember what was going on in society at that time when Kaepernick decided to kneel, and that was the police brutality and things like that. So it's not that he just woke up one day and said,
I get it.
But no, I'm just reminding our listeners about now. You talked about why the quarterbacks were, had happened before. And Rick Malthamy says he has an answer to that. You had an answer to one of the comments that he made about why the league hasn't had the black quarterbacks before or whatever. You said you had an answer about something, and I don't remember.
If you remember back in the day, the NFL was racist. The owners were racist. They were. I played in the league. I've had the chance and opportunity to talk to guys before me, the Gene Mingos, who played in the 1960s. If you remember, the 1965 All-Star game down in New Orleans, when they flew down there to play that game, the black ball players weren't allowed to stay in the hotel with the white ball players or eat with them. They protested that game. So protest in sports has always been around.
Gotcha.
It's always been around. And what it's meant to do is to make change.
Right.
Well, again, this is what Aaron was talking about before the show, before you got here. Here's H-Man-R102 retired. Why can't the NFL just be about young men playing a great game? A group of excellent athletes playing a great game. Eliminate politics and accentuate sports athletics. Let them wear jerseys and helmets as we observe the best of athleticism and not see the color of their skin or judge their performance based on the color of their skin.
Like wrestling.
But if you don't have any scandals, who wants to watch? Who wants to hear about all of the good stuff all the time? There's got to be some scandals. I don't care what it is, whether it's sports, whether it's football, whether it's tennis, Serena, right? They were all over her in that old deal. Tiger, they was all over Tiger. So it's broad. It's not in just one sport.
Yeah, the negative stuff, though, is what unfortunately sells newspapers. And
that's right.
There's a reason when you watch your local news, the stories of the fireman climbing up the tree to save the cat is in the last 30 seconds of a news report.
That's right.
There's
That's
reasons
right.
for that.
That's right. And as far as the quarterbacks, they didn't want to have to answer to them. Those owners didn't want to have to answer to the quarterback, and the coaches didn't want to have to answer and talk to those quarterbacks. Right. So most of the black quarterbacks, until James Harris came into the league in that whole deal, were made wide receivers.
Right.
They switched them.
Interesting.
Well, this one.
All right, what do we got next?
The last one of this.
Okay, on this topic. Okay.
Yeah. Cook 647. Okay, Roger. Time for a black commissioner to replace you, bro. Would that make any difference? In some areas, maybe?
Maybe in some areas, but you still have to have protocol.
Right.
You still have to have discipline.
Right.
You still have to have rules.
You still have to have a process.
Yeah, it's not about the color of your skin. It's about, man, making sure, man, that everybody's doing the right thing so that everybody enjoys the game.
Absolutely. All right, George, what's next?
Okay, we're going to go to court. We're going back in with Alec Baldwin. He's now being sued, which is not surprising, by Helena Hutchison's family for her death. And now we understand now he had spoken to, I guess, the family right after it happened and everything seemed okay. But again, when you can sue and you lost a loved one, I certainly understand that kind of thing. But here's some actual comments of conversations of what do they think about this situation. This guy named Democratic Wine. I believe Alec Baldwin. In fact, I'm sitting downstairs now and one of my revolvers upstairs just discharged spontaneously. It happens 2 or 3 times a week. Obviously, that's sarcasm. So, okay, how about Bentar Bar Practitioner? This is crazy. Why can't I shoot some little people and just laugh about it later? I have no doubt I'll get off scot-free. People as important as me don't go to jail, Baldwin stated. So, I mean, that's, what do you think about this? His widower's already worked out a lucrative deal with Baldwin by which he gets a producer credit and money in exchange for a dismissal of civil charges. Baldwin is a creep, but I think this coward could get away with it. Well, how much money do you think his family should get? I mean, we're reading all these comments. Nobody seems to like Alec Baldwin.
I think the public turned on him years before this incident. There was something that I would seem to recall, and I don't remember the exact incident, but years ago, I'll say maybe 5-6 years ago, something happened surrounding Baldwin, and the public kind of turned sour. Maybe it was an appearance on Saturday Night Live, or he didn't make an appearance or something. And I think that is aiding towards bringing gasoline to the bonfire around Alec Baldwin.
Right. How about this one, Alec? This is by Q Vochnik 099. Alec Baldwin's starring in a new movie with Tom Cruise. It's called Prop Gun.
Oh my gosh!
Ooh, pardon the pun. That's cold blood. That's below the waist too.
It is.
Wow.
WTF Dummy 422. Would he have known the difference between a blank and a live round? Is this included in the training? They'll probably get him off on everything else.
But it wasn't his fault. The prop master's in control of all of that, right?
Right.
Which, although on that movie, wasn't he the prop master?
No, there was a woman, a young woman who was about 25, 24.
Okay.
Her father had been a famous, well-known prop guy in
Gotcha.
Hollywood.
That's right.
So she probably got the job, nepotism, but you would think she would have learned at least to do that. And again, they said the last person with the gun in their hand should also check it.
Of course.
Yeah, and that's what my grandfather always told me.
Mhm.
He says, Rick, I want you to check 3 times, man, before you put that gun in that corner to make sure that there's nothing in it. And Alec Baldwin should have done the same thing. That's just my opinion. And that way, man, he's sure that when he's pointing a gun at anybody, that is clear.
I want to just mention a comment that's in the chat room from some guy named Sharif Upchurch. Been going on the football stuff. His comment here was, the problem with the comments by these people is that there's politics involved in everything. Not everyone has a platform to show how they feel. So when a black athlete does anything remotely to standing up for something, it has to be a racial problem, when in fact it probably isn't, unless you get the facts from that individual.
There you go.
I get it. We always throw
The race card.
the racist word out there if somebody doesn't agree with anything.
Absolutely.
And I always make this comment. Sometimes they get in trouble for it. I said, people throw the word racist around more than a basketball.
Okay.
Yeah,
But for me, George, I have to look at the background of the individual who said it.
Correct.
I look at each individual. If this is a history of you doing this, that tells me who you are.
Well, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Since you brought that up, again, we've talked about black motorists or black folks getting beat up or killed by the cops.
Right.
Would it make a difference? No, again, nobody deserves to die by the cops unless they are threatening their life or not. The difference with this gentleman just in Memphis, he had no record, no nothing. Those cops shouldn't have done what they did. And even though they were all black, they still should have done what they did. Now, again, I'm just throwing the name out there. This is just a devil's advocate. George Floyd.
Sure.
He had a rap sheet longer than my dick.
Sure.
Which is
woo. Oh my goodness.
So, but
Thanks for watching the last show of
Oh my
RoundTable.
God.
but
Now you know why, folks. He's now known as the mouth.
Mouth,
Okay?
right?
Yeah, he's the mouth.
Now, did George
He
Floyd
wishes.
deserve to die? No, but
He won't.
again, he was in this situation over and over and over again, always doing something or breaking the law or assuming they were breaking. It's always found himself in trouble. And my father was always one of those guys, if you don't want any trouble, don't go out after midnight, stay at home, don't do anything, wrong. Just follow the rules of law and you live your life. It's very easy just to follow the rules and the law. But people like separating someone like George Floyd and the gentleman in Memphis, there was 2 different characters of people there.
Yeah.
But neither one of them should have died regardless.
That's
what
it.
we're
That's what I'm
discussing.
Right.
Yes. But anything, like you said earlier, that did anybody deserve it? No. All right.
We have about 1 minute left.
Okay, one
so
more. I'm going to read a couple
real
more
quick.
about Alec Baldwin. And use America First, Us 203. Hutchins passed away on October 21st, 2021, after a gun Baldwin was holding fired on the New Mexico movie set. Wrong. Baldwin fired the gun. The gun didn't fire itself. That's true. So that's pretty much it with America Speaks. Again, we had to go back with Alec Baldwin because this is just an ongoing story. And we'll do this every week for the next few weeks of February.
Yep.
We're going to pick some, Black History Month. We're going to pick some stories and have comments that America wants you to hear.
By the way, some lady in the chat room by the name of Denise says, I don't know him.
Oh, God. Well, because of the longer than my dick comment.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Let me just I'm sure
She
Denise,
can tell you the truth, so let's not.
yeah, that's
go
why
there.
she's saying I don't know who he's
I'm gonna
talking
shut
about.
my mouth.
Anyway,
That's a good deal right there.
I'm Jewish. I have no clue what the hell you're talking about.
I was going to say the same thing, but
All right. Listen, great stuff. Great stuff. I look forward to, because I learned a lot just listening to the names of these individuals who created the initial concept of stuff we use every day, because I didn't know. And I'm looking forward to what we're going to do the next couple of weeks. America Speaks. God only knows what George is going to cook up next week, because if it's anybody with the rap sheet next week, I am afraid for the listeners. Anyway, guys, great show today. George, final thoughts as we go out.
keep your head above water, guys. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I'm going to throw it out there real quick. We didn't really discuss it.
Oh, no,
go
we
Eagles. Go Eagles. That's who I think's going to win.
All right, Rick, while you're at it, let's give your prediction too.
Yeah, folks, the thing about it with me, with Black History Month, don't be afraid of Black History Month.
Mm-hmm.
All it is just education and making yourself and your children well-rounded.
Absolutely. And a prediction for the ball?
Well, I'm going with Philly. I like Philly, and I think whoever has the ball last is going to win the football game.
All right, there you have it. My prediction is that the Yankees start spring training in a week, and really that's all I care about at this point. Because as a Giants fan, there's no way in hell I can root for the Eagles. Kansas City, I like Andy Reid. I just want it to be a good game, but if I have to pick, I have to stick with the NFC. And I can't even say it.
Yeah, don't even.
Be kind to everybody. Why is that? We're all have. Join me tomorrow, 9 a.m. for Kiwanis Connects with Governor Val and our guest tomorrow, Vicki Hermanson, Global Membership and Education Area Director for Kiwanis International. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here
On the round table.
Yeah, what they said.